Hi, this video is all about elevating your English skills before you sit an English test like an IELTs or a PTE test. It's all about doing your best on the test. My name is Joanna Hill. I'm a registered migration agent with Port Migration, and I've also spent more years than I like to count teaching English and music in Australian schools. I have a research master's in education. I taught Year 12 for more than 10 years, and I've been a VCE assessor for the Victorian Curriculum and Assessment Authority. I've helped countless students prepare for exams and tests. Now, before we keep going, like and subscribe to this video, and don't be a gatekeeper. Send it to a friend who might be sitting an English language test as well, and save it so you can refer to it. I recommend listening to it more than once because there's a lot that you can get out of it as you're on your journey to sitting your English language test. Now, what I'm going to do today is put my teacher hat on and give you test preparation tips. I'm preparing this video for our clients at Port Migration, but if you have come across this online, I hope it really helps you with your preparation for your English test. And if we can be of assistance in any way with a visa application for Australia, then get in touch through the links below that are in the description. Now, these tips work. I know they work because I've seen them work hundreds of times before. They will help you if you need to sit an English test like an IELTS test or a PTE test. Our clients often need to sit English tests to meet the requirements for work visa applications. You might need to sit one for another Australian visa like a student visa or a graduate visa. Some of our clients need to sit English tests to increase their points on the points score, their points test for general skilled migration. Other clients need to sit English language tests for professional registration in Australia for occupations like teaching, or accounting, or the medical professions. So I'm going to put my teacher hat on for a few minutes and give you some of the top tips that I have been giving to students sitting tests for years, and they will help you to do your best on the test. We also have a blog article about this, so if you prefer reading, it's linked in the description below. Elevate Your English Skills 7 Test Taking Tips is the name of the blog. Now, it's really important to understand the importance of your English language test. It's not just about your visa or your professional registration or your points test. The fact is that English is Australia's only national language. The English language is a really important unifying element for Australian society. English language skills are vital for working safely in Australia and for working effectively in your workplace and for achieving your best if you are studying in Australia. Now, passport holders of only 5 countries meet most English language requirements without sitting a test. So the UK, the US, Canada, New Zealand, and Ireland. But even passport holders of those countries might need to sit an English language test for the points test for general skilled migration. So I'm going to give you 7 test taking tips. You can write them down, refer to this video later, and use them as you are preparing for your English language test. So the first one, test taking tip 1. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. Now, the more preparation you do in advance, the better you will do on the day of your English test. Some people just turn up to their English test and see what happens. No study, no preparation, no practice in advance. It might seem like a great idea, but even if English is your first and only language, just turning up and winging it won't help you to achieve your best on the day of the test. Being eligible for the visa that you're applying for, being granted the visa that you're applying for, might hinge on the results of this test. So it makes a lot of sense to maximize your performance through preparation. Even if you're a native English speaker, you'll do better at the English test if you invest some time and brain power in preparation. That's tip 1. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. So how do you prepare? Test taking tip 2. Live in English. Now, this is obviously for people who English is not their first or their main language. Improving your English skills takes time, but you can fast track your progress by using your English as much as possible. Aim to live in English at home, at work, on the weekends. Talk in English with your family and friends. Strike up conversations in English with people that you meet. Actively seek opportunities to talk in English. This is especially important if you're actually living in Australia. If you're living in Australia, talk English at home, talk English at work, talk English on the weekends. Okay? Everyone with you will be improving their English together. Here are some ideas for how to do that. Read the news in English. This has the double bonus of giving you further insight into Australian life. Listen to talkback radio, the radio with actual talking, not just the music. Make sure you're talking English at home to your family and friends. If you're already in Australia, as I said, that will help all of you to improve your English skills. Reset your phone so your phone is in English. Set your Gmail or your email, whatever email and computer you use, set that to English. If you have children at school in Australia, sit down and help them with their homework. And, you know, it's a great idea to join clubs or organizations where you can meet other people, make connections, and talk in English. You could join an English speaking group if you're offshore. If you're already onshore in Australia, then join a group of whatever your interest area is, you know, a hiking group, a swimming group, a book club, and practice talking your English with those people, talking in English with those people. And then do things like don't use the self-checkout at the supermarket, you know, go through the checkout so you can have a conversation with the person as they scan your groceries. So use all these opportunities to be living in English, talking in English as much as you can. Now, the next tip, test taking tip 3, is about writing. So as well as talking in English as much as you can, as you're preparing for the test, write in English every day. Now, even if you don't write very often in real life, or you don't write in English very often in your day-to-day life, you will have to write in English for the English test. So the best way to become more confident writing is to do it. Write something in English every day as you prepare for your English test. You might like to try things like writing a letter to the editor of a newspaper about an issue that's of interest to you. You don't have to send it, just write it. Watch current affairs programs on the television and write an essay in response to the topics that they cover. Message family and friends in English. You know, use English. Write in English every day. So we talked about the importance of preparation, and then those are ways that you can improve your speaking and listening and your writing and your reading. Now, test taking tip 4. This is about the actual test, okay? Be familiar with the test format. Students who are familiar with a test format tend to do better on the test because they know what to expect. And this carries along for all tests, not just your English test. This is your exams at school, any other exams and tests that you have to do as part of your life. So when people are familiar with the format of a test, they tend to do better. So English language tests have 4 components: speaking, reading, writing, and listening. You will have to do all 4 of those things. Now, speaking, be prepared to be asked general questions about yourself, questions about a topic, and more extended questions about the topic. Reading, be prepared to read a variety of texts. So books, magazines, newspapers, work papers, extracts from a variety of texts, and to answer questions about what you've read. Writing, there tend to be 2 kinds of writing tasks. A task like a letter based on a situation that's likely to be familiar to most people, and an essay in response to a point of view, an argument, or a problem. The kind of thing that's general interest. So these are based on general interest topics. So be prepared for writing tasks. and listening. Now, you'll listen to recordings and answer questions related to what you're hearing. A variety of voices can be expected to be used. You usually hear the recordings only once. So even just listening to my very Australian accent as you watch this video is an example of a way that you can help yourself with practicing, preparing for listening. So speaking, reading, writing, and listening are the 4 things that you can expect. Now, the best way to be familiar with them for the test format that you sit, because you can expect slightly different formats on the different brands or different companies that run the tests. The best way to become familiar with the format is to follow test taking tip 5. So test taking tip 5, do practice tests and practice questions. Doing practice tests and practice questions is the best way to familiarize yourself with what you're likely to encounter on the test. Whether you choose to sit IELTs or PTE or one of the other options, there is a whole range of free material available for the paper-based and the computer-based tests. On their websites, there's resources. It's really worth investing the time in doing practice tests and practice questions before you sit the test. Now, as you're practicing, you might feel like you need more help, okay? That's test taking tip 6. Get extra help if you need it, particularly if you know of the level of English that you need to achieve on the test and you're not feeling super confident about, whether or not you'll reach that level. So get extra help if you need it. If you've never sat a test in English before, you may feel more confident if you get some extra help to improve your skills. If you are aiming for a high level on the test because you need it for your occupation or for your visa, then you can make small changes can make a big difference in the way you sit the test, and getting some professional, some expert help from people who are really, really able to just get that extra bit out of out of what you're able to do for the test. That's super useful, super helpful. Now, if you're seeking paid help, choose a reputable provider. Start by checking out the paid preparation options that the language test providers have. Now, you can do things like get feedback on writing tasks by completing writing tasks and then getting feedback, or doing practice speaking tests online and receiving feedback from examiners. So look at ways that you can get extra help if you need it. It falls into that prior preparation thing. You just want to maximize your chances of doing the best that you can on the day of your test. And I am always super inspired by clients that I see really make a big difference in their level of English language when they seek help that really helps them to improve their skills. Now, test taking tip 7, this is about actually setting yourself up for success on the day of the test, okay? Everything else we've talked about is before the day. It's your preparation, it's your actual use of your English language, and it's getting extra support if you need it. Now, this tip 7, set yourself up for success on the day. Super important. So, give yourself the best chance to do your best by putting a little bit of time into setting yourself up for success on the day. Make sure you know where you need to go. It sounds simple, but it's so important, okay? Look it up on Google Maps. Do a trial run if you're going somewhere unfamiliar by public transport. If you're driving, check out the parking that's available in the area of the venue. Give yourself plenty of time to navigate traffic, find a car park, get into the venue. So make sure you know where you need to go. Arrive early. You don't want to be stressed by running late, and you don't want to miss the start of the test or miss the test. So arrive early. Don't forget to bring your ID, your passport, or other form of identification. You won't be able to sit the test without it. Make sure you've read the instructions that are specific provided by your test provider of what you need to bring. You usually can't take personal items into the test, so be prepared to check those in securely before you enter the test. If you're sitting a paper-based test, obviously bring, stationery, bring the things you need to write with, bring your pens, pencils, erasers, whatever the test provider has told you to bring with you. Now, this might sound silly, but eat a healthy breakfast before the test. Give yourself time to do what you would normally do. Have your coffee, have your breakfast, have a snack. Give your brain the best chance of doing its best work on the day. And leave your family at home. If you've got kids or a partner who will be a complete distraction, they may not be treating this as seriously as you are, or they may have, they may be thinking about the shopping they want to do after the test. If your family or your partner is going to be a distraction, leave them at home. Okay, this is your visa, that you're working towards. Leave them at home for the day. Give yourself the best chance of success. Set yourself up for success on the day. Okay, now I have got one handy sort of bonus set of things, motivational tips and tricks. Okay, English is like a lot of things in life. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay, so the more you live in English, speak in English, read in English, write in English, the better you will get at it. Don't leave sitting your English test to the last minute, okay? If you know your visa deadline, make sure you've done it well in advance within the time period that you're allowed to, okay? So, do it a couple of months in advance. Don't leave it to the last week or so, okay? It's very stressful if, you're trying to sit an IELTS test right before you're applying for a visa. Plan ahead. Okay, have your timeline in mind. Plan ahead. Talk to your migration agent. If you are getting someone to help with your visa application, make sure they are a MARA registered migration agent or a migration lawyer. Now, know the relevant dates. Know when your deadlines are. Put them on the calendar. Be aware of them so that you're giving yourself plenty of time to do everything that needs to be done. And book a test date that gives you time to prepare. Okay, so think about the amount of time you're going to need. Book a test date that gives you time to prepare, but also isn't leaving it to the last minute for the deadline for your visa. Use your preparation time wisely to follow the steps above. If you've got 2 months, make yourself a plan for what you'll do over that 2-month period to get ready for the test. Do practice tests, do practice tests, do practice tests. Seek extra advice, assistance, and help with it. And then on the day of the test, set yourself up for success. Once you're at the venue, know that you've done everything you can do to give yourself the absolute best chance of doing your best on the test. You've done everything you can do. Take a couple of deep breaths, calm your mind, and remind yourself in English of everything that you've done to give yourself the best chance on the day. And then go and do the test. You can do this. You've got this. Like and subscribe. Send this video to someone else who can benefit from the tips and tricks that are in it. Get in touch if we can help you with an Australian visa application, and good luck as you sit your English test for your application for an Australian visa. Bye.